Hello, everyone. Angela Wolf here, Brother Brand Ambassador. Super excited to be here on another beautiful day. The countdown is in. 2026 is like almost here, but we've got a lot more for you in 2025. Speaking of, Sara Vetser's here with a great project. This would have actually been the perfect January 1st project, but we're going to give it to you a little early because you know she is the queen of upcycling. That's what I call her because she does some awesome things. But this time, have you ever thought of grabbing rice bags? Yeah, well, actually, I was thinking coffee bags after I saw this. Wait till you see what she has for you. So pop in, say hi. We are streaming on Facebook and YouTube for Brother, and we're live in the comments today. So tell us what's happening in your house. What's on your sewing table? Are you ready for the holidays? Because if you're not, you're going to be done in 2 weeks. All right, Sara, let's bring up Brother Educator, Sara Vetser. Sara, how are you?
Hello, I'm doing well. Excited to upcycle today.
I'm so excited to see you. Every time you have an upcycle project, it's something that I actually have in my stash that inspires me to want to do that. Although I don't have any rice bags, but I do have coffee bags.
Okay, the coffee bags are awesome, but I definitely recommend getting a 20-pound bag of rice.
So what do you need for this one? 20-pound bag of rice, perfect for the holidays. Go ahead and cook for everyone. Let's show them what we have here. This is so exciting. There we go. There's your beautiful bin. Tell them what this is because this is ingenious.
Yes, so we are upcycling the burlap bags that you get with when you buy rice in bulk or coffee in bulk, and we're turning it into a storage cube. And you could see the shelf that I have there is kind of an unusual one. So I'm going to show you guys how to make a pattern for it and how to take apart the burlap bag that you find from coffee or rice or another one that I don't know about, and use it to make a beautiful storage cube.
I love this. I love this. And you know, you're so right. I'm looking around as I'm talking to you. Of course, I'm squirreling. I see two compartments that are very odd shaped. And one needs to hold my cell phones for chargers. So this is going to be good. I like this.
Yes. And I love that it adds like a pop of color to that area as well. It hides all my mess and it adds a decorative flair. So it's a perfect project.
I love it. All right. Well, I'll let you take it away. And again, we're live in the chat. So leave your comments and questions. Even if you're watching the replay, we'd love to see what's happening. And if you have questions, we'll try to answer those too. All right. Head over to Sara.
Perfect. So this is a really easy project. I wrote out all the steps that you need to do, and it's less than 10 steps. So this is a nice, easy project to flow into the new year, take it slow in these winter months. We're going to start off by measuring the shelf. So of course, if you have an open shelf that you want to make a basket for, there are lots of patterns online that you could use. But if you're using the basket for an irregular shaped cubby, then I definitely recommend measuring it yourself and making a custom sized basket. Because what's better than that? So satisfying to put a cube in there that fits perfectly. So instead of using a tape measure, like you probably would assume that I would use to measure the area, I went ahead and I did some more upcycling and I grabbed some cardboard that was in my recycling bin. And I just folded it up until it fit inside of that cubby. So you can see I folded this side in to get the width. I folded the top down to get the height. And then I even used the back of this. I felt until it jutted up against the back of the cubby there to use it for the depth. So this is my little 3D way of measuring things. Again, really satisfying to just fit a piece of cardboard in there perfectly. Then I took this out of the cubby and I measured it to get all my measurements that I need to make a perfectly sized cube.
All right, Sara, that's pretty ingenious as well, because if you're using just a measuring tape, you might not have, the exact dimensions. It can curve a little bit in the corners. What a great way to use a piece of trash.
It's silly, but it was very effective. It worked out great.
We're all going to be saving the lids off of our boxes of paper we get now. Here we go.
Exactly. Cereal boxes, anything will work. So then I went ahead and I wrote down all of my measurements here. Let me zoom in a little bit. So here's my little diagram of the measurements that I took. So I drew a nice cube here, and I wrote out the depth, the height, the width, all that good stuff. And then I broke it up into the different pattern pieces I needed to cut to make my cube. So the first set is going to be craft interfacing. So let me talk for a minute about the supplies that you need for this project. So we talked about the rice bag. Here's the one that I'm going to be using. I got these big bags from my local wholesale club, and they're great. They have handles. They have a zipper on the top. So there's lots of fun ways that you can upcycle this. And this is truly zero waste. I took apart every piece of this bag. On the side, you can kind of open up. There's a really big stitch here with some nice red yarn. And I like to use this type of, it's kind of like a twine, I would say. I like to use twine to wrap up gifts sometimes. So what is a better time of year to get gift wrapping supplies? This is the best time. So if you take this apart, this is really great for small gifts to just tie a little red string around it with a bow. Then you can take apart the zipper, and I saved the zipper from the other bag that I used to make my cube. I'm definitely going to find a project in the future to use the zipper for. And then I also have the strap here, and we used the strap to make a handle for the cube. So this is that same strap repurposed. Any little scraps that are left over, like the tag here, I'm going to be using for a future project. I'm going to stuff a big poof to put in front of my couch to put my feet up. And that is going to be filled with all my little fabric scraps that are too tiny to be reused in another project. It's a great way to make stuffing for a pillow. You can do tons of things with it. So basically, all to say, every little piece is going to be used or saved for a future project.
I love this. I'm thinking of, that chain stitch that's on the top of that.
Yeah.
My bird seed comes with that. I could save that. Although my bird seed bags aren't quite as nice as the bag you have there. But dog food bags, I don't have a dog, but I feed all my raccoons. So now I'm thinking any bag that has that chain stitch, I'm going to save the top. I'll let you know. I think the gift thing, though, is great to tie. I love that.
Yes. Yeah, it's great for gift wrapping. And you're going to be like me very soon, have a drawer with all the string, and it's just overflowing. I can't even open or close it. I need another one already.
I'll send them to my nieces because they always love to do hand sewing, hand embroidery. This is going to be perfect.
Yeah, it's perfect for that. So then the craft interfacing that I mentioned, here is a piece that I have to show you guys. It's not super thick, but it does have a really nice stiffness and body to it. And again, it's called craft interfacing. So this product that I bought was advertised to be great for making purses or structured cubes like the one that we made today. So just look out for products that list that they're good for structured bags and other items like that. And it's not fusible. There's no glue on it at all. I didn't want to use something fusible with the burlap because the weave is so open here that I think if you tried to fuse something through it, the glue would just come through to the other side. So non-fusible, medium weight, I would say. Craft interfacing is another supply that you'll need. As far as
I know somebody's going to say, which one? Well, it's not a Brother product. So do an internet search and just find something that's non-fusible. And you're right, the glue would kind of get in the middle of that weave. It'd be a little bit different. Anything else they need to keep in mind? Any special needles, any special thread, just anything else?
Yeah, so I was going to say that I used my SE700 sewing machine. The other machine that I use that is somewhat optional would be the serger. So I did use my air thread serger to finish off the edges of the burlap because it frays really easily. You could see just from lightly handling this, it's kind of coming apart. If you don't have a serger on hand, you're going to want to get one. But in the meantime, you can use a zigzag stitch on your machine. And on the machine, I put in a slightly thicker needle, something that's good for denim because you are sewing through really, it's just a rough material, the burlap, plus the interfacing And I'm going to talk about this in a sec, but we're actually going to make a sandwich. So it's 2 layers of burlap plus the interfacing. So I used a cotton thread because I liked that the color matched the burlap. And I used a denim weight needle on my SE700.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. And by the way, don't forget, everyone, the holiday gift guide is still there. So if you really are looking for a serger, there's a great bundle with the Airflow 3000. It comes with a little travel, I think it's like a travel trolley. I don't know what they call it, but you can take it with you on vacation or to a friend's house.
That's amazing. I love my serger. And you use it for so many more things than you think you would. That's awesome.
So true. So true.
Okay, so back to the little pattern here that my master plan. So for the craft interfacing, I did not add any seam allowance because I don't want the craft interfacing to go into the seams of my cube here. So we're leaving that out of the seams. So no seam allowance. And I'm going to cut 1 set of the craft interfacing. I did some more upcycling and I used more cardboard to make my pattern pieces. And I ran out. So I made a set. I used up all my recycling materials. I made 1 set of pattern pieces. And then to cut out the pieces that you need of the burlap, I laid it down on the burlap and I used my ruler and a marking pen to add the seam allowance. I traced it onto the fabric and then cut it out. So definitely you have options here. You can make 1 set of patterns without seam allowance and use it to cut everything you need, or make 1 without and then another set with seam allowance. So then, as I said, the burlap, we're going to make a sandwich. So to calculate how big to cut those, I added my seam allowance. I did 1/4 inch on each side, and I cut out twice as many pieces of the burlap because we're going to sandwich those. So after you've made your pattern pieces, you measured your cubby area, we're going to take apart the burlap. And I previewed that a little bit. You could take apart the string on the side here. You can seam rip the zipper. You're going to want to save the handle for sure and the zipper if you'd like to use it for another project. And then you'll need to give it a really good press. The inside is seamed. It's got a nice crease in it. And the bottom here does not actually have a seam. It's just folded over. So we're going to want to give that a good press as well before we start cutting out our pattern pieces. My biggest...
Very easy to do. Very easy to do. And I just want to remind everyone we're live in the chat. So if you have questions, drop them in there and we will try to answer those. Okay, Sarah, sorry about that. Back to you.
No worries. My biggest piece of advice for cutting is I would say to pay attention to the front panel the most, meaning pay attention to what part of the print. These bags come with really, really nice prints on them. I love the mountains in this one, and I like the little circle here, and I wanted like a little bit of red in the front, but not too much red because I knew I was going to be adding the red strap. So I specifically put my pattern piece in this section of the print, and I would cut that one out first to make sure you're getting the part of the print that you want for the front piece, and then use all the leftover bits to make the rest of your cube. Because if you think about it, when you have this on your shelf, you're looking at this front piece. The other pieces are going to be hidden on the side and the back. So it's not as big of a deal what they look like, but I just paid special attention to the front. All right.
Now we're all going to have to go through our photos, go through our bags and be like, what part would be the best part for the front? And I'm thinking of my dog food bag, and it's going to be a cool looking dog.
Definitely a dog, front and center.
Yeah, with raccoon ears or something. I don't know. We'll have to come up with something good.
It's so fun, so fun. So after you've prepped your bag, you're going to cut out all of your pattern pieces of the craft interfacing and the burlap. And then the first thing I want to do is to get a clean finish along the top of the bin here, I'm going to do some understitching. So I'm going to stitch together the top edge of each of these pieces with the lining piece. For my basket here, I wanted to make sure I had enough materials left over to do my demos on the live. So I ended up using a plain canvas material for the lining of mine. But for yours, I think it would look cool to do burlap on the inside as well. So you're going to take, also, if you want to do a separate lining, that's definitely a great option as well. A separate lining would hide all the seams on the inside. I wasn't too worried about that. I'm keeping cleaning supplies in here, so it doesn't have to be super pretty for me. So I made sure to serge all of my raw edges so that there's no fraying and it's clean on the inside, but you can see the seams. So if you wanted to do a lining, you would just sew that part separately and attach it separately. It would hide all your seams and it would be quite lovely. My method that I chose with the sandwiching of the interfacing, I also did some light quilting on here. You can kind of see the diagonal lines coming across. So I'm going to show you how I did that. And so I wanted all of the pieces together. I did not want to do a separate lining. So that was my choice.
Very, very cute, easy. And the supplies, most of them you probably have laying around, especially if you're using the bag. This is very easy, Sarah. I love this project.
You know I love an easy project. All right, so we're going to take 2 of our burlap pieces and put them right sides together. I'm going to take this over to the machine and I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch seam on the top. And then I'm going to show you how to do the understitching. And what the understitching is going to do is it's going to pull the lining to the inside of the cube so that you don't have it sticking out on the top. So you can see here how I did the understitching, and the lining is pulled really nicely to the inside so that when you're looking at the outside of the cube, you don't see that canvas lining popping up at all. So again, at my machine, I have cotton thread. I have a denim needle. I changed my stitch length. I'm just doing a straight stitch, but I did change the length to 3 millimeters, slightly longer. I'm going to back stitch at the beginning and the end.
Sarah, I have to say that your nails look fabulous. Match your project. I was like, I think I need to paint my nails.
Thank you. All right, so once you have that stitch done, decide which side you want to be. Let me get that in frame. Decide which side you want to be the lining of your basket. I'm going to go with this side as the lining. I'm going to finger press my seam allowance over to the lining side. And then I'm going to take it back to the machine and I'm going to stitch one more straight stitch just to the right of the seam that we just created. You're stitching down the seam allowance to the lining side of your project.
That machine is so quiet.
It is very quiet. It has your automatic trim functions. It's also a combo machine, so you could do embroidery on it as well. It's a great one. All right, so now you can see I have, well, you might not be able to see because I stitched red on red, but you have one stitch line on the lining of your project, And then when you fold it under, it folds really easily to this side.
I was looking really close, and guess what? I can see it. I can see the stitching. It's beautiful. Perfectly straight.
So let's take our craft interfacing now, and we're going to butt it up right against the seam that you just sewed. And you can see that I have some space on either side. That's going to be my seam allowance. So like I said, we don't want the craft interfacing to be in our seam allowance. We want it to be just inside. So I'm going to put that down. I'm going to use some clips to hold it in place at the top there. And now I'm going to do my quilting. So for the quilting portion, again, nice and easy. I'm going to use a ruler. First, I'm going to go from corner to corner. Sorry, I keep being slightly out of frame here. And I'm using a marking pen that's water soluble. So I'm going to start from corner to corner. And then I'm going to go every 2 inches. So it's only going to be, for my cube, it's only about 3 lines per panel. So it's nice and easy. Some quick quilting. And this is just to kind of keep all the layers in place, because the burlap it gets kind of wiggly. I don't want it to get saggy over time. I want the basket. I also think it gives it a little bit more structure by doing a few quilting lines. So I'm going to go back to my machine, keeping the stitch the same. So 3 millimeters width and a straight stitch. And I'm going to follow my lines that I marked. All right, so there's one panel done. And the next thing you would want to do to get rid of all this craziness happening here is to go ahead and serge right along the edge if you have a serger, or use a zigzag stitch if you don't, just to keep all this funky stuff from falling apart. What was I going to say? So you're doing this. Also remember to add your strap. So you're going to have one of these handles from the bag, and just on that front piece, you're going to add the strap. So in my drawing, I drew the strap kind of smaller and in the middle, but I ended up using the full length of it because I thought it kind of blended in nicely. It looks more like a stripe on the front than a handle, really. And then I didn't put it in the center because I chose these mountains to go on the front piece. And if I put the handle in the center, it would have covered the mountains right up. So I was like, what's the point in choosing this nice little print? So I made it a little bit lower. This I just used to kind of pull it out from the cubby a little bit, and then I just grab it from the top and the bottom. So it doesn't have to be super strong. It just looks nice, and it is useful. Place it wherever you think is best is the point. And make sure to add it on. And when I added my strap in, I just did a little edge stitch on both ends just to hold it in place. Then you're going to serge or zigzag on your raw edges, and then you're going to seam the whole basket together. So it's going to be stitched over 2 or 3 times, and it'll be held in really nicely. And let's see. Okay, so edge stitching all of the sides, not the bottom piece. So the bottom of your basket is not going to get edge stitched. Putting in the interfacing, doing the quilting across, make sure to add your strap for the front panel. And then you're just going to seam all of the pieces together of your cube. And that's it. You have a cube.
So cute. That is super easy project, a super easy project. I was just thinking, my nieces and nephews, they love to sew and dabble in some crafting. This would be such an easy project to get them started because they're quilting, you know, and you're using just a basic sewing machine. This is a perfect project, Sarah.
Yeah, even doing a little bit of pattern making.
Yes, definitely. And that's the easy part. Well, actually, it should be the easy part because if you use some of your, I was thinking even, you know, I've got quite a bit of paper, like the big pieces of paper from the patterns that I design. Yeah. And a lot of it, I just use, I leave it around because I need it for certain things, but even something like that would be great to make a pattern with. So you can get creative on that.
Definitely. A lot of stuff that I get in the mail that I order online comes with like that brown packing paper. That's great for patterns as well.
That is true. That is true. So again, we are live in the chat. So we're actually getting busy for the holidays ourselves. And are you doing anything for New Year's, Sarah? Because I can never stay awake.
Oh my gosh. You know, it's not as exciting as when I was a kid. I used to think the ball drop was a meteor falling from out of the sky and dropping onto the earth. Then when I learned what it actually was, I was like, oh, kind of disappointed.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I have to watch the fireworks from Australia because I will not stay awake. I try, but then I like to get up early in the morning. So if I stay up too late, then my morning is shot. So I like to start my new year fresh, early, and I can watch the replay if I have to.
Yes. And I'm sure the fireworks in Australia are awesome. So I don't think
they're awesome, at least on TV. And you know, I know that we have a huge international fan base here. So all of you in Australia, your fireworks are the best. Well, Sarah, I wish you happy Hanukkah. We've got Merry Christmas. We've got so many things coming on this week. So thank you for being here. Thank you for a great project. I hope you come on and show us that puff you're going to make. Yes,
I definitely want to. So in the new year, maybe.
All right, we're going to add it to the list. So everyone, thank you for watching. Enjoy your day, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Attach the embroidery frame in the initial sewing position.